Quadratics, page 12. What's the relationship between the discriminant and the quadratic equation? What happens when the discriminant is negative? Well, remember the quadratic equation looks like this. Remember that the quadratic equation has a square root in it. Inside the square root, we always have to be careful what's inside of the square root, right? Because if you ever have a negative number inside of the square root, the solution is not real, it's imaginary. So we need to be careful that this quantity is always 0 or above, otherwise we don't find a solution. What does this look like for a graph? Well, whenever you have a solution for x, then that means you have an x which makes y equal to 0. And that happens in a parabola when you touch the x-axis. So you can either touch it twice, or you could touch it once. If you like exactly touch, you touch the x-axis once there. Or you could not touch it at all. That's no solutions. So by looking at the discriminant, you can tell whether you're going to have 0 solutions, 1 solution, or 2 solutions. There's also something called positive definite and negative definite. And positive definite and negative definite just says, well, is the parabola always positive? Are the y values for the parabola always positive? Or are the y values of the parabola always negative? And you can tell that just from looking at the discriminant and the a value. Okay? If the discriminant, remember that when the discriminant is negative, then the parabola is either floating above the x-axis or floating below the x-axis. It's not touching the x-axis, so there are no real solutions, right? So when the discriminant is less than 0, it's either like that or like this. How do you know which one it is? Well, when the a value is greater than 0, then we know it's on this side. And when the a value is less than 0, then we know it's on this side. Okay, so we just look at the delta and we look at the a value, and we can tell if it's a parabola that's floating above or a parabola that's floating below. A parabola that's floating above is always y positive, and that means that it is positive definite. If it's below, it is always negative, and that means it's negative definite. Okay, now let's do a problem. Under what conditions is 2x squared plus kx plus 2 positive definite? Well, things are positive definite if the discriminant is less than 0, and that's enough. And now that's how we know it's definite. Positive definite, a has to be greater than 0 also. Okay, so let's make sure that a is greater than 0 and the discriminant is less than 0. Now, we have the flexibility of making k what we want to. So when, for what values of k is this true? Well, we can already check if a is greater than 0. A is equal to 2, and that's greater than 0. So we're halfway there. It's positive. Okay. Now we just need to make sure when is the discriminant less than 0. The discriminant, remember, is equal to b squared minus 4ac. B, in this case, is k, and a is 2, and c is 2. So delta is equal to k squared minus 16. And we'll say, okay, when is that less than 0? Okay, when is that less than 0? Well, this is less than 0. Let's see. We will factor this. K minus, k minus 4 times k plus 4 is less than 0. So when is this less than 0? Well, the critical values, we're going to put it on a sign diagram, are, let's see, 4 and -4. And let's see when exactly this expression is less than 0. At 4 and -4, it is 0. When it is a 0, for example, that would be -4 times +4, which is a negative number. So yeah, this part's negative. Okay, negative. And then over here, a big negative number would be big negative number times big negative number is big positive number. So this part's positive. Big positive number times big positive number is positive number. So that means that the only part of the sign diagram that's negative is between -4 and 4. And we wanted to know when the delta was negative. So the delta is negative when k is less than or equal to, let's see, -4 less than or equal to k is less than or equal to 4. Okay? So that's the condition right there. Okay? A is always greater than 0, so that condition is satisfied also.